Hey guys, alright, so here's your probably last video of the term. So I want to go over everything that's due for this week. So first off, we got the online drill here due today. Not counted for any points, but it does get forwarded to student outreach if you did it or not. So I'd make sure you do that. Got 2 discussion questions to go over. You got an assignment and a quiz. So a whole lot of stuff here to go over. Let's touch on the discussion questions first. A lot of you have already completed this, so this is all going off of chapter 12 in the book and then watching video here on one of these TED Talks. So pretty straightforward there. But what you're going to write with your post is 3 ideas on how to be happy. So it's a pretty subjective thing. This can be really from anything you use. Want to make 1 from the video, and then 2 can be other sources. Make sure you cite those sources though if you use any sort of other online or in-text material. So pretty simple there. Second discussion question is you're going to pick 2 quotes from Steve Jobs' speech from the video. If you don't want to pick, if there's nothing out of the video that sticks out to you, you can find any quotes from Steve Jobs. I'm not too concerned if you pick something out different. But pretty much all you're going to do there is write what his quotes were and explain, why they kind of resonate with you or why they really spoke to you. So you can format this in 1 of 2 ways. You can write it all as one big paragraph, or you can kind of list this quote here, this is why, this quote here, this is why. So discussion questions, really, really simple here. The assignment this week is writing a thank you email. So this here is pretty simple. They give you a sample here. Now, what I don't want you to do, and I'm not too concerned about the like the title here with the addresses and all that. I'm not too worried about that. I'm worried about the content here, okay? So with a thank you email, you want to thank the employer for the interview and reiterate what that you want this job, and based on your interview, a brief summary of what you can bring to the table. So this is just a template here. I want you to create your own, but this gives you an idea of kind of the length that you should be looking for. So it's something short. You want to thank them. You want to state again that you want the job, and that you want to give a brief outline of why you deserve the job again. So condensing pretty much your cover letter into a thank you note. Again, make sure you write your own format. I want to make sure that you don't just copy this straight word from word. Alright, and then we have a quiz here. So there's a few points I wanted to go over with the quiz. So just a couple bullet points here to consider. Thinking about before, during, and after an interview. And these are all topics from your book, so you can always look at your book for the references here. But before your interview, you want to make sure you're arriving there early. You don't need to be there an hour early, but like 15 minutes is very good. Your greeting, very important. You want to make sure you're greeting everybody in a very professional and formal way. Just as a little side note, I do know that most secretaries or office assistants that will greet you at the when you first come in and they greet you, they actually report back to the hiring manager what you were like in the waiting room. So pretty much what you need to be doing in the waiting room is nothing. You don't want to be distracted. You want to have good posture, things like that. Make sure you're giving good nonverbal cues, such as your body language. Preparation is going to be key for anything before the interview, and this is going to be before you even get to the interview. You want to make sure you research the company and research the field. One of the major mistakes that people make is not knowing the company and not knowing the field they're in for. Now, during the interview, first segment here, That's going to be probably the first 5-10 minutes or so, depending on the length of the interview. Your visual impact is going to play the first key role. So when the hiring manager or whomever is doing your interview is first seeing you, their first judgment on you is going to be how you look. So you always want to make sure that you are dressing formally or appropriately for the position. If you're going in for, I'm just throwing it out there, if you're going in for some executive position, you don't want to be coming in jeans and t-shirt, right? Now, what usually they will do is do general questions to kind of put you at ease and help build rapport. This is to help really get you in the flow of conversation before they get into the technical questions. In the second segment, that's when they're going to have these where, when, and why questions. So that's going to delve more deeply into it. Towards the end of the interview, you're going to be able to ask questions about the job, and you're going to show your knowledge of the company and what the employer is looking for in a new hire. So that's your chance to really sell yourself without being prompted by the questions. Now, after an interview, immediately after, you should analyze your performance. So thinking back, what did I do that I really liked? What did I do that I think I needed to improve on? Was there anything that really stuck with me? And then you also want to be able to write that thank you note. Now, a couple different types of interviews that they single out here are a panel interview and a phone interview. Panel interview, that's where you may have one or more hiring managers talking to a group of people at the same time. So I know from my personal experience, this was common in retail positions. So I had a job at American Eagle when I was in high school, and there was about 10 of us being interviewed in the middle of the store. So with panel interviews, you really have to do a lot to make yourself stick out. So that's where they want that outgoing personality. They want you to, have your verbal and nonverbal actions really speaking loudly. On a phone interview, obviously all telephonic, but the key here is to find a quiet location. There is nothing that'll derail a phone interview more than lack of service and also noise in the background. So make sure that you find a quiet location. Now, when we did our elevator pitch, that all comes back to being able to answer the question, tell me about yourself. So that's being able to summarize a whole lot about you in a very short period of time. So like that 60 seconds, that's your elevator pitch. The only time you're going to discuss the salary or negotiate a salary is after your position is offered. So after you're offered the job, that's when you start negotiating salary. Now, they may ask you what your salary requirements are during the interview, and that's where you can give them a range. Depending on your experience, you probably don't want to be shooting for the sky, and you also don't want to undercut yourself. So that's where the research comes into play. So going back into researching the company, finding out what the salary range will be, and a lot of times they'll tell you that in the job description or in the job posting itself, but you want to make sure that you do that as well to make sure that when they ask you that question, you aren't outlandishly out there. If you really undercut yourself or you really go over what they want to offer, you may be passed over just because they think that you haven't done your research, or you may be asking for too much money than they're willing to offer. All right, so there's a few things the employer can't do during an interview. So a couple questions they can't talk about. Can't talk about your country of citizenship. So if they cannot ask you if or what country you're a citizen of. They can ask you if you will need a work visa or anything like that, but they're not allowed to ask you directly what your country of citizenship is. They can't ask you about your ethnic background or any racial questions, so they can't ask you about your race, religion, creed, anything like that. It's very tricky if something like this happens. So if you notice any of these kind of illegal or questionable questions come in an interview, you need to find out why that's a concern. One of the easiest ways to do that is just asking if it's relevant to the position. A big one that we're seeing here are age-related questions, so asking about how old you are. And also with women, asking if they have children, because that can be a factor in determining like travel and things like that. So an interviewer has to kind of be a little tactical with how they ask that. You can find out if someone has a family that they would need to spend time with or have to, sacrifice job time for it with questions like, would you be able to travel on a moment's notice, or would you need time to prepare, kind of thing. So make sure that you can get asked these questions, but they have to be in a way that's kind of tactically relevant. So there's a quick overview for you. I took the quiz. I got 100 on it, so I think you guys can as well. I think it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy, and that'll be a big factor there. Last thing I want to touch on is the end of class survey. If you guys would just take a quick minute to go over the end of class survey here. It's pretty simple there. I'm not listed as the instructor, so you have to put other, and then just remember my name, Mike Swoboda. Pretty simple. There's 8 multiple choice questions, and then there's a couple like fill in the blanks, but that's pretty straightforward there. And then that's about it, guys. If you haven't done your interview yet from last week, make sure you get that turned in by today. That is due today. And remember, I posted a video for that. You can find that on the class wall and in the announcement section. I'm going to post this both on the class wall and the announcement section. And then I will, if you ever need anything, give me a call, send me a text. I'll be more than willing to help. Again, if you don't have my number, here it is again, 330-502-6252. If you text me, that'll be the quickest way I can get back to you. I know I've talked to several people over this past week to be able to get that. The one thing to make sure you really consider is that everything is due Thursday, okay? Grades are due Friday at noon, so I can't accept any late work. The latest, absolute latest you can get everything in is going to be Friday morning, okay? I have to have grades in by noon on Friday, so make sure you get that done, get that stuff turned in. Any questions, let me know. If not, it has been a pleasure, and I hope to be able to work with you guys again here in the future. Just to let everyone know, next term I will be teaching Fit 203, so that's cardiovascular training, and I will be teaching EXS 101, which is body systems. So if you guys are in either of those, hope to see you there. If not, wish you all the best of luck, and I hope to work with you all in the future.